All right, this video is about how to clean a handgun, specifically an M&P 2.0, even more specifically an M&P 2.0 Compact, which is a full-size double-stack service pistol, but it only has a 15-round grip instead of a 17-round grip like the full-size has. This one also only has a 4-inch barrel instead of a 4¼ inch barrel. Our chamber is empty. We don't have a mag in. Our gun is unloaded. Verified 100%, so I'm going to go ahead and lock the slide back to the rear, push the takedown lever, send the slide back home, and verifying that my chamber is empty, I'm going to pull the trigger in a safe direction to release the slide. This is our first tear down sequence. We've got a frame, we've got a barrel, we've got a recoil spring, and a slide. The first thing I do is start soaking the barrel with solvent to get it loosened up. My methods are very, very simple. I use Q-tips primarily. And I try to just get the Q-tip like super soaked with solvent, just to get solvent on here to start working on that carbon. I'm not really trying to clean, I'm just trying to get solvent in the barrel. Okay, then once I do that, as you can see, I have ported barrels on my gun, so I start soaking down the outside of the barrel. Outside of my barrels is typically dirtier than, somebody running a non-ported gun. So there we go. Then I come back here and just make sure that I've got plenty of solvent sitting on the feed ramp and in the chamber. There we go, nice and thick. So now I'm going to set him aside. Now we'll come to the slide, same treatment. I've still got plenty of solvent sitting in this Q-tip, so I'm just going to start soaking some critical parts of this slide down. I'm not cleaning right now, I'm just getting solvent on the gun. Just getting everything whooshed around. I always come up here and really circle the barrel hole in the front of the muzzle there, front of the slide. Now, if you're running an optic on an M&P, your blocker here, striker blocker, that is a fully machined hole that goes all the way through the slide, and it's going to come out. Your blocker spring and cap is up here under your optic, so that hole goes all the way through. So if you dump a bunch of solvent or even lube when you're lubing it, that's going to bleed through and get into the battery compartment of your optic and kind of make a mess. So I kind of go light around that block right there. So I have a patch. I'll set the slide down on its side, and right in here where the slide rides on the frame, I'll use like this AR pick tool here. Start doubling it up, and then I'll get in there, because I cannot get, even with a precision tip Q-tip, I can't get to the bottom of that little valley there. So I'll clean that out good. And that's one thing I do every time I clean. Even if I'm doing a quick detail, I'll grab a patch. If I don't have patches, I'll grab a piece of paper towel. If I don't have a piece of paper towel, I'll grab a Kleenex. And let me show you why that is. Where that ridge rides is on your frame right here, right? And if you look at a handgun, you've always got these big wear marks right up here and back here, and that's because every time you shoot, that slide cycles, and so you've got metal on metal rubbing on each other. There's no way you're going to avoid that. You just lube it and it runs forever. They run a long time. But if you run them filthy, stinking dirty with, this gun, you can probably not tell in the video, but I can see a bunch of blown back brass remnants off the extractor. So I've got metals and I've got carbon and I've got all kinds of stuff. Not only is that changing the tolerance right here, but it's basically like 60 grit sandpaper riding between this fire control group assembly on these lugs and the slide right here. So that's kind of one of the most critical important things for me, is to try to keep that little valley as clean as possible, and then I'll lube that whenever things go back together. You'll see that that's 2 seconds. That's super easy. All right, now we're going to go back and clean. We're starting with a clean Q-tip. We're going to try to soak up all that solvent we put down. Sometimes you get a little bad carbon buildup up here. Yep, and I got some. I don't know if you guys saw those big black chunks, that solid chunks that came out of there right here. But that happens to me too, so I always try to get that on every cleaning. We'll use a precision tip to get in there real quick. That's always a special dirty spot that you always kind of got to hit, is right here at where your firing pin comes out. Very dirty stuff there. All right, nothing to it though. We're wrapping this up. Now I'm going to grab a quick patch. Sometimes if I don't have a patch, I'll just literally take a paper towel and then just kind of wipe all that stuff off. We're on the frame. I'll just grab this old patch and get some of the big stuff off the top real quick before I go into for details. All right, not a lot going on there. I am going to grab a patch, and again, I like to keep where that slide runs just as clean, about as clean as I can get it. I spend a little more time, got a little crazy there, but a little more time there than I do other places. So try to get that stuff that runs between the slide and the frame. That's where you've got, you know, the slide is traveling on the frame every time it cycles, so I try to get in the cracks and crevices and get that cleaned out. Okay, so now our slide's clean, our frame's going to be clean. Our recoil spring, I did a detailed clean on my recoil spring last time. I'm just gonna, sometimes I'll spray it down with brake cleaner outside if it's kind of got some gunk, but my recoil springs run pretty clean. So he's good enough. I'm just gonna put a dab. I do let that run in a little, two drops of lube, just to have a little bit of lube between the spring and the rod. That's done. All right, now we get to our barrel. The reason why I pre-soak it is because I don't use a snake or anything like that. I just use these things are called ramrods. I get them at a local farm and ranch store, but they are basically 9mm Q-tips. You can get them in all these different calibers. The first one I run through quite a few times just to knock anything loose after that soak. As you can see, that's, I know it looks dirty, but it's pretty clean compared to how nasty it can be. And then I'll spend an extra few twirls up here on the chamber and the feed ramp. Then I'll kind of there we go. So on the first one, once I get that done, then I'll take it and do the outside of the barrel, because the outside of my barrel is normally pretty dirty because I'm ported here. Now, ramrod number 2, we should be getting a lot cleaner. Not too bad. All right, Lucas gun oil. Anytime you see a bare spot, like a witness mark on the metal. That's a high wear area, so you want to hit that with a little drop of lube. Don't have to soak it. Just make sure she's lubed up. You get them on the top and the sides. I put a little drop for my sear. That's pretty much about it. Here on the slide, I do put a tiny drop on the striker block. That's it. One on the firing actuator, one right there, and then right in the front of the barrel. Oh, and then even though I already hit it on the frame, I do put one drop here, one drop there, a drop there. I mean, just a drop. That's it. That's all you need. Okay, now we're going to put our barrel back in. Our recoil spring. Now we have an assembled top end again, very easy. Okay, now we're back together. Empty chamber, I'm going to function check, dry fire into a safe direction. Yep, we're good. So now is where I get into alcohol. Gonna take a little bit of alcohol on a paper towel, and I'm gonna wipe any surplus solvent. I did get a little whiskey throttle on the solvent that time, so I just like to get all that off. And then my light is not too bad. Normally that sucker gets really dark with carbon. I kind of wipe all the solvent off to make sure. And then I'll take this and push it up into the magwell as many times as we drop our mags on the desert floor. And put them right back in the gun. I kind of get a little bit of a buildup of gunk up there. But not too bad. I'm going to cycle this a couple times because that one tiny little drop turns into a big bunch up here. So now that she's clean, we've got an empty chamber. It goes right back into the holster and back into the safe. You know, my guns don't come out of the holster unless they're going to be shot. I like to have it in the holster all the time. All my guns have a different holster, have a holster assembly, so that they can stay in the holster with the trigger guard covered. That's like an extra layer of safety for me. If you've got an M&P or are curious about how to quick clean an M&P, I use ramrods, Q-tips, Hoppy's number 9, Lucas gun oil, and then alcohol for surface cleaning on the outside. Have a good day. See ya.